Affinity Photo has a macro recording feature. It's super useful, but there are lots of things wrong with it. You can't use it for certain things. And I'm going to show you some of the things in this video. So first thing to do, the macro. Macro panel, you can record the various steps you create. So if you create a brushstroke, it will be stored away here and you can repeat it later on. That's the whole point of macro. Now you can find it up here in the window menu and macro. But you can record just by going here, start recording. So just click and now you can record. And I've got the tools over here and I'm just going to go and create a rectangle. So a rectangle, it records that. When you record, what it does, it adds a rectangle here, just lists it there. You can deselect it, all those sorts of things as well. And you can also modify certain things. But let's just go and change the fill color. Click here. Now you may want to do this. You might record it and then you think, oh no, I really wanted blue. Didn't want red, wanted blue. Okay, so let's just put it to blue. And it says over here, cannot record set fill. That's strange. So I can't record any change of colour. And you think that's quite a fundamental thing in a recording. Now, of course, you can always delete it out, I guess, and do other things, but you can't record this. You can't record it, so if you've got red, that's what you got. Okay, next thing to do, I'm going to go over here with the gradient. So similar sort of thing. So gradient over here and just apply. Can't add a gradient to it. And gradients are one of the things that I really use a lot in Affinity Photo. So gradient, no, doesn't like it. Now, another thing, let's just go down here. And I've got this, I've got the node tool selected here, and I can convert this to curves. So I can also do it from various menus, but let's just convert to curves. And now go over here, and you can see I've got convert to curve there. But if I try and edit it, a whole load of messages come up saying I cannot record this move handles, it says, or set curve node. And it often comes up when you're doing various tasks. You'll suddenly see messages popping up and they do clear off conveniently, otherwise your screen would be full with them. However, let's just remove this now. Another thing to do, let's just go and create a layer. So layer, new layer, and I want to just quickly go and add a gradient to it. Again, something I do quite often, just create gradients, combinations of gradients. And if I try and do that, it doesn't like it. Well, not very useful. Another thing that I do quite often, use create text. So just go over here and artistic text tool, click on the document and it says cannot add artistic text. And you think, well, that's one thing I do a lot. I like adding text, I like recoloring text, I like combining it, maybe generating an effect with different effects. Now, let's just go and create something else. Now, one thing that I think that works well generally are all these things like layers. Even there, sometimes there's problems with the layering. It comes up with a panel to make decisions about various things, and you might run into different things. Also, another thing I found with the macro, and maybe you found it as well, it just doesn't run. If you create quite a complex macro, you can click on the run or play and it just will not work. So you can do various things. You can say duplicate. Now it does allow that. Also allows filter, distort and deform. So let's just click and add some pins and you can see I can distort it, click apply, and it does store it. Now you'll notice one thing with the macro, it does allow for additional modifications, but all it allows, unfortunately, is master. It doesn't offer the option for you to edit at a later point any of the pins. That would be brilliant. Fortunately, that's not available, but you can modify the master, so it can just reduce it down when you're playing it back. That's the key thing, not at this point, only when you play it back. So you can see you can record things, and again, hover up here. It has problems occasionally with some of these sorts of things, various inserts, and it sort of comes up with questions. Sometimes it gets confused. I personally find it slightly frustrating. It works better now in version 2, I think, than it used to in version 1, where it just failed quite often. But you've got here new pattern layers, again, new fill layers. Let's just create a new fill layer. Now, new fill layer. if I go over here with the gradient tool again, and still can't record that, but it can create a fill layer, which is a bit odd when it can create a fill layer that is made up of gradients. So linear, it cannot set the fill type. So there's that as well. Now selections I think are okay. So let's just go and close that. And now let's just go for a selection. Actually, I can't delete it. Why is that? This is very odd. Window and layers. So it comes up with this sort of message as well. Cannot record set current selection. Very frustrating. So if you want to change things, you suddenly think, you know what? This is the thing I meant. This panel, select layer 1. I find this actually quite, cannot select this, cannot select this, cannot select this. It's quite confusing panel that it comes up with. I mean, it gives you the options, but it just does seem to be things. Select layer 4 from bottom. Sometimes, of course, if you've got the same name, confuses it even more. Select and so on. So you can do various things like that. And I'm going to delete that. Okay, and it does actually record that delete. So there's things it will do, and there are things that definitely don't. It'd be great to know, what things have you found that it just seems to fail on regularly when it comes to macros? Macro feature. I think that would be really nice, and nice addition to Affinity Photo would be scripting. Do you think that scripting also would be useful? Scripting is in Photoshop and probably other applications as well. I think it's a great feature where you can manipulate things at a great level and repeat them. And that's the key thing. Sometimes you want a batch process. You might want to generate millions of copies of certain things in a particular way. A script or a macro will run through that. Now, once you've done it, and I'm going to stop now, you can save it to library. But if you want to run it again, you can obviously just play it. And then it doesn't sometimes does work. Maybe it's done it. I think it has done it. But sometimes I find it just doesn't appear to do anything. But you can store it also to a library for future use. So that is a quick run through of macro, the problem, the broken feature of macros, I think, in Affinity Photo. I'm not sure why some of the features like artistic text have been totally ignored. Maybe there is a thing about macros that I'm really just not seeing. As far as I'm concerned, it's a recording of steps, and therefore it should, as far as I'm concerned, record everything. Please correct me if I'm wrong on that, because maybe that isn't the reason for the macro feature. A like or dislike, always appreciated. Please subscribe to the channel. Bye.